everybody. Welcome back to the Female Footballers Podcast. I am super excited for today's guest because you, over the summer, participated in our mentorship program. So really appreciate you taking a few moments to tell us about your experience with it. So that'll be fun. We'll get into that. But first of all, I would just like you to introduce yourself and then tell us about your soccer journey so far.
Hello, my name is Everleigh. I live in the Bay Area and I have been on 4 to 5 different soccer teams, all the way from rec to high level. And I've had the opportunity to be coached by many different, very good coaches with many different teams with amazing teammates.
What's your favorite part about being a soccer player? What do you love so much about it?
And one of my favorite things is strategy. It's kind of an obscure topic, but I've been on some teams where it's more focused on technical skills, and then other teams where they kind of like, okay, we have the technical, let's do tactical. And then I thought that's kind of where I found it really interesting. It's kind of like just like numerical superiority in different areas of the field, and then also just trying to figure out how to play around another player, and then to isolate 1v1s and 2v1s and just think sort of like it's kind of like a game of chess. It's like there's a bunch of moving pieces and you have to think about on the spot, and it's just like there's so many different things you can do.
Right. The art, right? The art of the game, or understanding the tactical stuff. And sounds like you're really into it, which of course helps. Do you like watching soccer?
I love watching soccer. I'm really excited about the new Bay FC team. I'm so excited.
For sure. Do you have a favorite player?
I mean, my favorite player has always kind of been Lindsey Horan, just because he's just so creative with the ball. I also really like Rose Lavelle for the same reason. They have a good energy and vibe around them that I really love. They're like leaders.
Yeah, definitely. Horan's intensity and
Mhm.
also great leadership and just stability, right? Like just she is so stable and reliable. What's your biggest stressor as a soccer player?
When I play soccer, it's sort of a mental battle. It was pretty hard last year before I did the mentorship program. When I make a mistake, I'm always like, oh my gosh. When I make these mistakes, it's just trying to remember like this doesn't define me as a player, and that like it's such a normal thing to make a mistake, and that my teammates, my coach, the people who I really don't want to let down because they believe in me, they understand. I just have to remember that, and that's always one of the things that's really stresses me out,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
especially in the moment, like during a game.
Yeah, right. You're in that competition mode, and of course, you don't want to mess up and how to recover from that.
Yeah, one of the biggest things that helped me during the mentorship program was the reset thing. And it was just really helpful because I was like, okay, next play. And I always say that to myself. And I think it helped me a lot, especially with not spiraling.
Yeah, one of the topics we talk about is managing mistakes. And so Everleigh's talking about this. And then she had this phrase, she said, next play, we're trying to create these automatic behaviors to those moments that come up where you might get a little hit on your confidence, or like, oh, I should have made that pass earlier, or whatever it was, you know.
I was with Carrie Riccaro, so she was so nice. She was amazing, and it was like a 6-week long course, and I could do the work like wherever and whenever. And it didn't take that long either. And one of my favorite things about it was that we would talk for like half the time on like what the lesson was, and then the other half of the time we could kind of talk about other things I was struggling with that weren't necessarily in the lesson plan. I think it was just a really good balance, and it wasn't an overload of work, and it was really helpful.
It's so great to be able to connect with someone who knows, those feelings and work through some of those things.
Yeah.
And you had a great mentor. I know she is fantastic, and she loved having you. So.
Yeah, I also like kept in touch with her afterwards, and I basically we had this tournament and we were in the finals of the tournament. Like, I was feeling really down about my performance and my playing, and I remember thinking to myself like it really doesn't matter. Just play the game because you love the game, and you've worked really hard to get here, so everything will eventually fall in place. So I just kind of went with that mentality. And then we won the tournament. It 1-0 in that last game, so it was really cool. And and then I remember texting her and showing her the video of the goal, and I'm like, this is like, you helped me do this. Like I wouldn't have been able to do this without like the confidence you instilled in me. So and she was so proud of me, and it was just a really good experience.
Yeah. Oh, I'm just so impressed with your self-awareness and being able to talk about what you're seeing, how it was affecting you, what changes you've made, and how that has been helping you, grow as a soccer player and on the mental side of it. Self-awareness is a huge part of what we talk about at Female Footballers. It's a crucial piece. We got to know about ourselves to be able to figure out what we need to do to best improve. What would you maybe tell a player who hasn't, been exposed to a lot of mental skills training or practice, or, maybe has, but hasn't really brought it into their game as much? What might you tell them on what it can do for them?
I think just that mental skills training is so helpful. Like, I think most of the game is mental. Like, yeah, you can train your touches and stuff, but that's like sort of automatic at some point. But when you do mental skills training, you have to continuously keep like manually saying it in your brain, or else it's not going to happen. And I think it actually takes more work than technical skills, and I think it's just as important. So I like any chance that you can get to figure it out, work it out, learn something, and just like keep like trying to improve your mental skills will change your game so much. I've been so much more confident this year than like last year, like when I was younger. I think it's also just because I'm maturing, like my mind is maturing too, but it's super helpful. And the mental skills, I think soccer is a mental sport too. And I think everybody should know that.
Yeah, well, that's great advice. So, any parents, players, coaches out there, if you're hearing that, you're hearing this from a 13-year-old, she sees it. The mental skills we need to weave into our daily practice of being a soccer player, and it's not necessarily easy, but you can put things into place to make it easier. And coaches, parents, we have lots of programs that we can offer for teams. So please reach out. We can get you guys going on this and provide these for these players, because ultimately it will lead them to be better players. And in the long run, great humans who can handle the adversity of life. But especially in this time where you're working through these things in sport, it's a great opportunity for that practice.
So I think like you said, I think it really helps like social skills and just not outside of soccer. Just being able to not overthink things and live more freely. It was also just like a huge like burden off my shoulders outside of soccer too. So like these skills they're very helpful in both life and in soccer. That just shows how important they are.
Yeah. Is there any other advice or advice, not necessarily with mental skills, but just advice for youth players based on your experience, whether it's, you're on a team that maybe you're not connecting to the team, or a coach who you're not stoked on, or playing time, or whatever it is, just what's like your big advice to the players? Because I do love how you were saying you're playing more freely, because it's hard to get there, because you're constantly worried about making mistakes and things like that. So anyway, what would be kind of your big advice to young athletes?
Like if you're on a team that you weren't really vibing with or clicking with, and you've tried some other things, or like a coach, that I would say advocate for yourself. I think everybody has potential, and if you advocate for yourself, whether talking to your coaches, asking questions to like improve your game, helping your friends, and just trying to be more in depth, or like in with your team, just like being more connected to them, I think that could definitely help. But also like the main thing is you're gonna play, if you really love soccer, you're gonna play in many teams. You're gonna play with many people, you're gonna have many coaches, everything. It's just a step. You might think you're going in circles, but maybe you're going on a ramp uphill. Circles, but that's still okay because you're still getting better. And I think that's the most important thing. Just focus on your development, and honestly, whatever happens, it's going to be okay, because everything will eventually work out if you put your heart into it.
I love that. I love that. If it's your passion and you love it, it will work out.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you again so much for your time and sharing your insights on your journey and your experience with our program. We loved having you, and it's so great to hear the feedback. And again, parents, players, coaches, please reach out if you're interested in this kind of thing for your club or your team or your daughter. Our next individual mentorship program, we just finished our winter one, so summer will be the next opportunity for that. Thank you again for your time, Everleigh.
Thank you for inviting me.